Hello, welcome dear guys in our most popular YouTube channel Physics Make It Simple by Dr. Rajendra Kobarne from Padma Shri V.K. Patil Junior College, Pravaranagar, and as long as 11 science is concerned while learning the electromagnetic waves and communication system. This is the lecture number 6, and in this lecture we want to discuss about the properties and uses of infrared rays and visible light that I have already written on the board. We will see one by one. At first, the properties and uses of infrared rays. So, infrared rays, what is the source of infrared rays? Hot bodies are the source of infrared rays that I have written here. So, see here, all hot bodies are sources of infrared rays. About 60% of solar radiations are infrared in nature. So, some important properties that I have chosen here. The first property is when infrared rays are incident on any object, the objects get heated. The temperature of the object increases when the infrared rays are incident on it. The number 2, these rays are strongly absorbed by glass. They can penetrate through thick columns of fog, mist, cloud cover. What is about the wavelength range? How we can remember that wavelength range? In lecture number 4, while learning the electromagnetic spectrum, I have clearly discussed all about how the series of the electromagnetic waves is to be remembered. I will repeat again that I have written here. By making use of this table, we can easily remember the range of wavelength of each electromagnetic waves by referring the sentence what here, rich man in London uses X-ray guns. So here rich, R stands for radio waves, M stands for microwaves, I stands for infrared rays, L stands for what here, light. But which light? Visible light. U stands for ultraviolet rays, X stands for X-rays, and G stands for gamma rays. In this way, the series of electromagnetic waves that we can easily written by making use of this interesting sentence, and how the range of wavelength is to be remembered. Write down the wavelength range of visible light at first, which is equal to what? 700 nanometer to 400 nanometer, that I have written here. 700 nanometer to 400 nanometer. Write 400 nanometer here, 400 nanometer to 1 nanometer. Write 1 nanometer here, 1 nanometer to 10 raised to minus 3 nanometer. And gamma rays, the wavelength of gamma rays is less than 10 raised to minus 3 nanometer. Then now here, this 700 nanometer, write down here, 1 millimeter to 700 nanometer. Write down this 1 millimeter here. This is 0.1 meter to 1 millimeter, and write down this 0.1 meter here, and we can say that radio waves, the wavelength of radio waves is always greater than 0.1 meter. So by making use of this table, we can write as a property of electromagnetic waves in terms of range of the wavelength, and say I have written here its wavelength ranges from 1 millimeter to 700 nanometer. That is the wavelength range of infrared rays that I will write. I have written that wavelength range by making use of this table, infrared rays, 1 millimeter to 700 nanometer. These two properties are common to all. Its speed is 3 into 10 raised to 8 meter per second, and infrared rays are transverse in nature. These two properties are common to all electromagnetic waves. Then uses. Infrared rays are used in remote sensing. They are used in solar water heaters and cookers, used in remote controls of TV and VCR, etc., used to cure infantile paralysis and to treat sprains, used in diagnosis of superficial tumors. These are some important uses. So in this way, we can discuss about the properties and uses of infrared rays. Then I have written the properties, some properties and uses of visible light. So visible light, different colors of light are due to the different wavelengths. That is the most important property that I have written here. Visible light emitted or reflected. It is emitted or reflected from the object. So emission and reflection is the main cause to what? To see object clearly. So visible light emitted or reflected from object around us provides us all about information regarding object. all about information regarding object. Here these are the two common properties that I have written here. Speed of visible light is 3 into 10 raised to 8 meter per second. Visible light is transverse in nature. These two properties are common to all electromagnetic waves, dear student. Remember well. While writing the wavelength range, refer this table again. Wavelength range of visible light is what? 700 nanometer to 400 nanometer, that I have written here. Visible light exists all optical phenomena like reflection, refraction, diffraction, interference, polarization, dispersion, scattering of light. That all optical phenomena we can easily learn by making use of visible light. So this is the most important property at first regarding visible light. And as long as the diffraction, polarization, interference is concerned, we will have to learn these three important phenomena in 12th standard. And as long as the uses are concerned, I have chosen some uses. Visible light is the main energy of all living organisms. Of course, visible light is a main energy and main source of all living organisms. Number 2, it is used to see the universe for our TV, computer, mobiles, screen work. Used for signaling, to make lasers for the use in the surgery room. So these are some important uses regarding visible light. In this way, in this lecture, we have completed properties and uses of infrared rays and visible light, dear students. So remember that properties and uses by taking a screenshot, and after learning this, we will meet again for the next lecture. Okay, up to this we will stop here.